When spiritual battles rise against a person, the first place the enemy touches is the head, because the head carries identity, direction, and glory. And many people do not know that witchcraft projections often enter through the hair, especially when someone is spiritually watched, spiritually envied, or spiritually hated. And because hair grows outward, whatever touches it can influence the mind, emotions, and destiny. So when your hair starts breaking, when your scalp feels heavy, when you experience strange itching that doctors cannot explain, or when you keep dreaming of someone touching your hair or cutting it, that is a spiritual signal that your head gate has been interfered with. And too many people carry a wounded head and a cursed crown without understanding the spiritual warfare happening above them. But today you will understand what has been going on, and you will take back your crown. For many years, ancient believers knew that certain ingredients used on the head could separate a person from spiritual contamination instantly. And they understood that the enemy uses hair to tie destinies, confuse decisions, block thoughts, and weaken confidence. And they knew that the moment you cleanse your hair spiritually, the attacks that were sitting on your life will scatter immediately. Which is why even today, when people go through sudden setback, sudden depression, sudden loss of direction, or sudden heaviness on the mind, the elders say, wash your head, because the head is where attacks settle first, and the hair is where witchcraft sticks the most. And what you're about to hear today is not superstition, but spiritual technology that God hid in natural ingredients. One wash can change your entire spiritual atmosphere, because one wash can disconnect every invisible hand touching your mind at night. One wash can break the assignments of those who try to watch your progress through dreams. One wash can scatter every black magic and witchcraft curse holding your crown hostage. And this is not cosmetic cleansing, but spiritual warfare. Cleansing, because when your head becomes spiritually light, your life becomes spiritually open. And when your hair becomes spiritually clean, your destiny becomes spiritually free. Since many people pray but do not cleanse their gates, and many fast but leave their head untreated. But today you will learn what happens when you wash your hair with a combination that has broken generational witchcraft for centuries. Sea salt and rosemary water are two of the most powerful spiritual cleansing elements that God created. And on their own, each one is strong, but when combined, they become a weapon that destroys every curse sitting on your hair. Because sea salt carries the authority of purity, separation, and divine protection. And rosemary carries the energy of memory, clarity, and spiritual restoration. And when they fall on your head together, they dismantle every evil projection, break every confusion spell, and repair every spiritual wound on your mind, helping you understand why this simple wash has freed thousands from spiritual heaviness they never knew came through their hair. So as you listen, open your heart, open your spirit, and open your mind, because this message will expose what the enemy has been doing to you without your knowledge, and will reveal why you have been feeling tired for no reason, why your thoughts have been scattered, why your confidence drops suddenly, why your head feels heavy after certain dreams, and why your progress stops every time you start rising. But today, the truth will set you free, and when you finally wash your hair with sea salt and rosemary water, every witchcraft attack assigned to your crown will break immediately, because this message is your awakening and your freedom begins now. When God created human beings, He placed a unique spiritual signature on the head, which is the seat of wisdom, the place of thought, and the gate through which inspiration flows. And that is why the enemy fights the crown of a person with so much intensity, because he knows that if he can control your head, he can control your head life. And many people experience cycles of confusion, slow progress, and strange setbacks because their crown has been tampered with spiritually. And since the hair is connected directly to the head, it becomes a spiritual antenna absorbing both good and evil influences, which is why washing your hair with intention, with faith, and with divine ingredients becomes a powerful act of reclaiming your spiritual identity and restoring your destiny. Hair carries glory, and glory attracts both admiration and jealousy. And in the spiritual world, hair is seen as a symbol of strength, covering, and divine identity. And even in ancient times, when someone's glory was under attack, the first sign showed up in their hair through sudden shedding, breakage, dryness, strange heaviness, or an inexplicable change in texture, because these physical signs often reveal a spiritual operation taking place. And when your hair begins to behave unnaturally, it is often because the enemy is attempting to weaken your confidence, dull your mind, or block your spiritual intuition. Which is why washing your hair with the right spiritual mixture not only cleanses the physical strands, but also breaks every chain tying your glory down. Salt is one of the most mysterious spiritual tools God placed on earth, and it carries the authority to purify, separate, and destroy contamination. And when salt touches anything that has been spiritually polluted, it neutralizes and disconnects the evil attachment, which is why salt has been used for centuries as a divine weapon, sprinkled, dissolved, or anointed. And when sea salt touches your hair, it immediately begins to break down every negative energy, every witchcraft residue, every manipulation tied to your crown, attacking the spiritual dirt that has been clouding your mind and disabling your spiritual sensitivity. Because sea salt does not negotiate with darkness, it destroys it. People who experience strange dreams of someone touching their head, cutting their hair, or pulling it often carry hidden spiritual burdens attached to their crown, and these burdens show up as heavy thoughts, sudden sadness, emotional instability, or a foggy state of mind. And sea salt works against these invisible burdens by cleansing the gateways of the mind. And when dissolved in warm water, it creates a spiritual shield around your head, pushing back every attack that tries to enter the mind through the hair, making it not just a wash, but a spiritual separation between you and every evil force trying to influence your decisions or steal your peace. But salt alone is not enough, because rosemary has been used for centuries as a symbol of remembrance, clarity, and destiny restoration. And it speaks to the mind, the memory, and the spiritual map of your life. And when the enemy wants to derail a person, he attacks their clarity, because a confused mind cannot pray, plan, or discern. And rosemary water restores what? Confusion tries to steal by sharpening your inner vision and calming the storms in your mind. And when added to salt, it becomes a powerful antidote to every spiritual attack targeting the head. Many people do not know that rosemary also breaks monitoring spirits, those evil eyes that watch your progress, track your movement, and attempt to block your elevation. And when rosemary touches your crown, it blinds every evil watcher assigned to your life, which is why some people feel God's peace flow through their minds immediately after washing with the rosemary water, as the mind becomes lighter, clearer, calmer, and more spiritually alert. Because when your hair is spiritually clean, your spirit becomes spiritually awake. Salt and rosemary together form a divine partnership where one breaks and the other restores. One disconnects you from evil and the other reconnects you to God's clarity. One destroys witchcraft attachments and the other rebuilds your mental strength. And washing your hair with this combination shuts the door on every satanic projection while opening a spiritual window to divine wisdom, because this mixture is transformational. And the moment it touches your head, every witchcraft attack assigned to your glory begins to break instantly. There are people who wake up feeling spiritually drained even after sleeping through the night, and they cannot explain why their head feels heavy or their thoughts scrambled. And this is a sign something has been projected into the head gate while they slept. But rosemary is a divine restoration herb that goes straight to the mind and breaks patterns of mental manipulation. Because whenever the enemy wants to weaken a person, he attacks the mind through the crown, and rosemary water dissolves invisible threads tied around your thoughts, confidence, memory, and sense of direction, restoring what was spiritually blood. Many spiritual attacks show up first as forgetfulness. When you walk into a room and forget why Start something and instantly lose focus, or sit to pray and your thoughts scatter, or try to plan your life but cannot concentrate. And this is not always psychological, but sometimes spiritual fog, because an enemy who cannot stop you physically will try to paralyze you mentally. But rosemary water awakens memory and returns your ability to think with strength. Then comes the spirit of confusion, one of the most dangerous weapons in witchcraft, making people take wrong steps, trust wrong people, and miss divine opportunities. But rosemary carries the vibration of order and mental cleansing, untangling spiritual knots placed around your mind. And people who wash out their hair with this mixture often say their thinking becomes peaceful and steady. Another attack is spiritual heaviness, where you wake up tired, feel pressure on your head, or experience sudden sadness or emotional overwhelm. And these are signs of spiritual attachment sitting on the hair, but salt burns them off, and rosemary restores lightness, lifting invisible burdens the crown has carried. Hair loss without medical explanation is another spiritual signal revealing that glory is under attack. And washing with this mixture strengthens spiritual roots and breaks the hands assigned to your hair. Some dream of someone cutting or touching their hair, which represents attempts to steal glory or weaken confidence. And cleansing with this mixture severs every hand that touched your head in the spirit and reverses every negative energy that entered through the dream. Witches target the hair because it carries record memory, identity, and spiritual history, which is why they collect shed strands or cut pieces. But as you wash your hair today, every monitoring spirit will lose access, every evil link will break, every spell on your crown will dissolve, and every chain around your thoughts will scatter. Sea salt is not just a mineral, but a spiritual purifier with divine authority. And when it dissolves, it becomes a cleansing agent that attacks witchcraft contamination at the root, burning every projection sent to your head through jealousy or monitoring. Because the enemy fears salt, since it breaks covenants and destroys attachments. And when you pour salt-infused water over your hair, you are declaring war on every invisible hand, touching your crown in the spirit. Some do not know that witchcraft manifests as confusion, dizziness, sudden mood swings, or emotional instability caused by contamination on the crown. But sea salt cleans the crown outwardly and inwardly, breaking spiritual pressure and lifting heaviness off the scalp. Rosemary strengthens spiritual roots of confidence, identity, and clarity, realigning your thoughts with God's purpose and closing the door to demonic whispers. Hair washing is a spiritual gate cleansing because the head is one of the 7 gates of a human being, and witches Landia attacks there first. But salt and rosemary wipe away negative energy, reset the gate, clear the path, remove spiritual footprints, and restore divine peace. Many live with spiritual attachments on their hair, unknowingly feeling irritated, mentally blocked, moody, or tired because something is sitting on their hair spiritually. But salt breaks it, and rosemary restores the mind, leaving you feeling light, awake, and spiritually open. This wash also breaks every evil word spoken against your glory. Since words look for a place to sit, and they sit on the head, but salt dissolves negative words, and rosemary restores confidence wounded by evil speech. This mixture also protects your head from future attacks. As salt forms a shield, witches cannot penetrate, and rosemary keeps the mind alert, creating a barrier darkness cannot cross. There comes a moment when a person must ask why their mind has been tired, why their thoughts heavy, or why their confidence sinking. And this is when they realize the battle has been on their crown, and when they understand their hair is not just hair, but a spiritual antenna. Something awakens inside them, revealing that confusion was not weakness, exhaustion, not laziness and sadness, not random because they were under spiritual pressure, but now they awaken as you prepare to wash your hair. Something shifts even before water touches your head, because your spirit rises, your mind clears, and your heart feels release, since understanding is the first step to deliverance, and the enemy thrives where people remain ignorant, but truth breaks darkness. Then comes the realization that your glory is not ordinary and your attacks were not random, because your head was targeted due to your great destiny and bright star, and only the chosen are attacked at the crown, which brings respect for yourself and awareness that God led you here intentionally. And as you reflect on your strange dreams, setbacks, mental fog, emotional battles, and unexplained heaviness, you see the connection and understand why your elevation paused and your clarity dimmed. Realizing the battle was over your head, but today marks your reversal, your restoration, and your awakening. As you prepare the mixture, understand this is not ordinary cleansing, but spiritual activation, because salt dissolves and warfare begins carrying divine judgment, breaking chains tied to your crown. And you, music, must boldly declare that every witchcraft detachment is breaking and every monitoring spirit losing access. The moment the water touches your scalp, every hidden enemy scatters as salt burns spiritual dirt and rosemary, repairs confusion, carrying away evil marks, word curses, heaviness, and dark imprints clinging to your crown. Speak with authority. My head is lifted, my mind restored, my glory untouchable, my crown covered, breaking every silent agreement. Darkness tried to form as you massage the mixture into your scalp. Every chain melts, confusion loses hold, monitoring spirits lose access, heaviness dissolves, and God restores the gates of your mind, resetting your covering and healing old wound. Finally, raise your right hand and declare every witchcraft attack assigned to my crown. Break and return to cinder. Every black magic tied to my head dissolved by fire. Every spirit monitoring my head lose power. Now my crown is sanctified, my mind restored, my glory protected, completing the cleansing and sealing your breakthrough. Now your crown has been cleansed and your gates restored. You must not return to spiritual neglect, because your head is the seat of wisdom and must be protected with prayer and watch, since your sensitivity will increase and your spiritual radar awakens. Whenever heaviness tries to return, watch your dreams, emotions, and thoughts, because the enemy fights hardest after breakthrough. So keep your prayer life active and your crown spiritually covered. Share this knowledge with someone else, because many are fighting silent battles on their head, waking up tired, confused, and spiritually heavy without knowing their crown was tampered with, and sharing this may save a destiny. Stay connected to teachings that align with breakthrough, because your restored crown will hunger for wisdom, clarity, and direction. So keep learning and growing, and remember this truth. Your head belongs to God, your mind to clarity, your crown to glory. And if this message has opened your eyes or freed your spirit, share it and continue on your journey, because your crown will shine brighter from this day forth. Walk boldly, knowing your crown is clean. Your mind is clear and your glory is restored. No witchcraft attack will sit on your head again, and every projection sent against your destiny will fail instantly. Your head is covered, your path is open. And so as you move forward from this moment, carry with you the understanding that your spiritual hygiene is as vital as your prayers. For prayer is the key that opens the door, but cleansing is the act of sweeping the house clean so that God's presence can dwell without obstruction. Your head now, cleansed, becomes a throne for wisdom and a beacon for divine direction. The heaviness that once clouded your judgment has been replaced by a celestial lightness, allowing your thoughts to ascend to higher realms of clarity and purpose. The confusion that once entangled your decisions has been unraveled by the dual forces of salt and rosemary living your mind, a fatal ground for divine strategies and godly inventions. Remember, the enemy always seeks a point of entry, and a neglected headgate is an open door for spiritual contamination. But you are no longer ignorant. You are armed with knowledge and fortified by a divine recipe that has shattered chains for generations. This is your heritage, to walk in spiritual alertness and to maintain the sanctity of your crown. Let this practice become a regular part of your spiritual discipline, especially in seasons of intense warfare or when you sense the subtle signs of attack returning. for maintenance is easier than reclamation, and a guarded crown preserves an unblemished glory. The peace you feel now is not a temporary emotion, but a spiritual state, a testament to the effectiveness of obeying divine principles. Guard this peace jealously, for it is the evidence of a life disconnected from dark influences and reconnected to heaven's frequency. Your dreams will become clearer, your vision sharper, and your steps more certain because the seat of your identity has been restored to its original divine design. The spiritual static that once distorted heaven's communication has been silenced, and you can hear the whispers of God with stunning clarity. Your destiny, which seemed paused or delayed, will now gain momentum because the hidden hands that were holding it back have been severed. You are now stepping into a season of accelerated progress and undeniable breakthroughs. All because you took authority over the gateway of your life. So from this day forward, wear your crown with dignity. Walk in the confidence of your restored glory, and never again let the enemy tamper with what God has sanctified. This is your new beginning, a life of clarity, purpose, and unstoppable spiritual momentum. And so it is from this moment of breakthrough that your spiritual senses are sharpened to perceive the subtle schemes once hidden from your understanding. The clarity you now experience is not merely the absence of confusion, but the active presence of divine order orchestrating your thoughts and steps. Your mind, once a battlefield of conflicting voices and oppressive weights, has now become a sanctuary of peace and a command center for heavenly strategies. The enemy's relentless attempts to access your life through your crown have been met with a divine firewall, a spiritual barrier established through your obedience and application of God's hidden wisdom. This is the power of walking in revelation. You are no longer reacting to attacks, but proactively dismantling strongholds before they can take root. Your hair once said target for witchcraft and envy is now a testament to your spiritual authority and a symbol of your consecrated identity. Every strand bears witness to the sanctifying power of God, serving as a physical reminder that you are set apart and shielded from every form of spiritual contamination. The heaviness that once followed you like a shadow has been replaced by a tangible lightness, a buoyancy of spirit that elevates your worship and sharpens your discernment. You will find that your prayers now carry a new potency, your faith a greater resilience, and your vision a piercing accuracy. This is the result of a cleansed headgate, a life where divine inspiration flows unhindered and your God-given potential is fully unleashed. The cycles of setback and frustration are broken not by human effort, but by the strategic application of spiritual truth. You have engaged in a form of warfare that transcends the physical, using weapons divinely crafted for such a time as this. Therefore, let your life become a living testimony of this truth. Share your experience with those still bound by invisible chains, for your story can become their key to freedom. Teach them the significance of guarding their crown and the power of a spiritually clean headgate. As you continue on this journey, remember that maintenance is your responsibility. Just as you would not neglect physical hygiene, do not neglect this spiritual practice. Incorporate it into your routine, especially when you sense the familiar signs of spiritual pressure or before embarking on significant endeavors. Your crown is your glory, the seat of your authority, and the gateway to your destiny. Protect it with vigilance. Cover it with prayer and cleanse it with the authority God has provided. Walk forward from this place with your head held high, not in pride, but in the confident assurance that your crown is clean, your mind is clear, and your destiny is secure. No weapon formed against your head shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. This is your heritage as a child of God, to live in freedom, to walk in clarity, and to reign in life through Jesus Christ. Your path is now illuminated, your steps are ordered, and your glory is restored. Go forth and shine, for the light upon your head has been ignited, and it will guide you into all that God has prepared for you. And so the journey continues with each new day, presenting an opportunity to reinforce the freedom you have secured. The spiritual clarity you now possess is not a fleeting moment, but a lasting foundation upon which you can build a life of purpose and unshakable peace. Your mind, having been liberated from the oppressive forces that sought to cloud your judgment, is now a vessel of divine inspiration, capable of receiving and executing God's perfect will with precision and grace. The enemy's strategies, once effective in causing confusion and delay, are now rendered powerless against the fortified gate of your head, which you have cleansed and consecrated through obedience and faith. This is the essence of spiritual warfare. Not just defending against attacks, but advancing in victory, carrying the light of truth into every area of your life. Your hair, once a point of vulnerability, is now a crown of strength, a daily reminder that you are shielded by a power greater than any opposition. The practice you have embraced is more than a ritual. It is an act of spiritual stewardship, a declaration that every part of your being belongs to God and is under His divine protection. As you move forward, you will notice a renewed sensitivity to the Holy Spirit's guidance, an ability to discern between the voice of truth and the whispers of deception. Your dreams will become arenas of revelation rather than conflict. Your thoughts will align with heaven's perspective, and your emotions will reflect the stability of a soul anchored in God's promises. This transformation is a testimony to the power of combining prayer with practical spiritual discipline. You have not only prayed for deliverance, but have also acted in faith, using the tools God has provided in nature to enforce the victory won on the cross. Let this be a lasting lesson that your faith is both a shield and a sword, and that God's provision for your wholeness encompasses the spiritual, the physical, and the emotional. Share this victory generously. For there are many who struggle in silence, unaware of the battle being waged over their minds and destinies. Your testimony can ignite a chain reaction of freedom as others learn to reclaim their crowns and walk in the liberty that is their birthright. Stay steadfast in this truth, vigilant in your practice, and generous in your sharing. Your head is covered, your path is clear, and your future is bright. The same power that cleans your crown will continue to guide and guard you, ensuring that every step you take is firm and every decision you make is wise. Walk in this confidence and let your life be a perpetual testament to the freedom that comes from a spiritually cleansed and God-honoring life. And so we press onward, recognizing that this newfound liberation is both a permanent possession and a daily practice. The victory you have secured over the spiritual attacks targeting your crown is not a single event, but the beginning of a lifelong posture of vigilance and authority. Your mind, now a cleansed and sanctified vessel, will begin to attract divine ideas, godly strategies, and heavenly blueprints that were previously obscured by the spiritual fog. The enemy, though defeated, is persistent, but your consistent application of this spiritual truth will build a wall of fire around your head that no darkness can penetrate. Remember, the goal is not merely to break a cycle, but to establish a new one. A cycle of increasing clarity, accelerating purpose, and undeniable favor. Your hair, once a conduit for negative projections, is now an antenna for divine frequency, pulling down blessings, wisdom, and opportunities from the heavenly realms. The simple act of washing with intention has recalibrated your entire spiritual atmosphere, aligning your personal domain with the order of heaven.